Well, hello to you, too. You didn't say hello to me, did you? Probably not. Maybe you did. Who cares? I shouldn't say that. If you said hello, then hello back to you. If you're being a jerk-off, well, then I'm not saying hello to you. All right. This came out today. Big Vanity Fair. Big Vanity Fair article. And not just with pictures. Not just things where people are looking and going, oh, that looks cool. What could that be? A lot of details. And we're going to cover the majority of it on Sith Council tomorrow. Mike and Steph will be here on the show tomorrow. Leaf Blower's here to hang out, to talk about this part of me. But I just wanted to go with some of the things that I saw and some of the details that I thought stood out. And we'll dive deeper into it tomorrow with the crew. But there was a lot, man. And they really talked. I think that obviously Mandalorian got a lot of love. The idea and the thought process behind the streaming show, and they even talked about, we've talked about this many times on Sith, how the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe essentially started with Favreau, and he's kind of done it again, and the formation of how him and Filoni came to be partners, and the idea that what Kathleen Kennedy didn't want to do was have them kind of have this turf war, as they say. So she put them together. They had a conversation. They had ideas. Grogu was never the first choice by Filoni. He was hesitant by it. Favreau, it was his idea, and obviously they collaborated. They talked about it. They made it work. But there were things that they had to really be on the same page with. They talked about Filoni and how he was able to he was like the apprentice of George Lucas, which we all knew, we all talked about, but how that is, there's a team. And Kathleen Kennedy said as much inside of the interview without saying this, but this is essentially what she said. And people will push back and say, that's not what she said. But essentially it was, well, we went into the movies, a couple of the movies, without like a formulated plan. There were things that we tried to do that we thought could work based off of things that, were popular and they didn't work. But now we have a formulated plan that people are responding to, and we're going that route. That's what I read from her. Whether she's talking about Solo, I didn't necessarily agree with her comment about the fact that you can't have anybody play a legacy character. It doesn't work. I just think there were just too many things, and I know people love that Solo. I can't believe how many times I see that hashtag Make Solo 2 happen. Why? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I like Alden. I like him a lot. I think he's a great actor. Thought he was, and I'd love to see him in Star Wars again as a different character. Maybe dressed up as an alien or something. But like, it just that this wasn't Solo to me. I think I think a lot of people felt that way, and it definitely had a lot to do with marketing against the fact the Avengers came out a couple months before, and The Last Jedi just came out. Absolutely, that stuff is relevant. Do I think that Solo is a bad movie? I don't. I just don't think it's very. I don't think it's very good. It's fine. It's fine, but that's neither here nor there. Point is, they're addressing their mistakes inside of this and really focusing on the stuff that I love about TV is that you're really diving into the characters and what the idea is and the story, and it gives them more time to play. It's why I've made such a big thing about why I like the television, and people watch Star Wars for different reasons, right? And no reason is the wrong reason, but some people like to go for the big spectacle, the battles and all that within a 2-hour popcorn movie. I'm fascinated by the lore, the history, the idea of all these different things. That's why when I pull and they mentioned this in the article of how Obi-Wan and Vader could meet without ruining the stuff that came before them. All that stuff I find fascinating, and that's why I think TV works so well. They did address the movies also. What I was pretty shocked about was Kathleen Kennedy made the hard stance saying that there's no plans for the Feige stuff right now. No plans whatsoever. He'd love to see what he comes up with, but no plans right now. Which is interesting considering that the Walden, I think his name is, the writer of Loki, recently said he was working on the Star Wars script for Feige. So I don't know where that is. Maybe they're trying to two things. One, it's legit, and they don't want to have any expectations yet, and Feige's going to be a little too busy. Or two, they're waiting to save that for Star Wars Celebration. I happen to think now more so. I was on the Star Wars Celebration side of it. I might believe it at this point. I still think Taika Waititi's coming out, make that announcement at Celebration for sure. They addressed that one's still going down. They talked about, what else did they talk about as far as movies go? Oh, Patty Jenkins. They didn't say it was not happening. They said some things are on the back burner, but TV was the main focus of this article in general. and some of the stuff that they show in inside of this was let's see, one of the ones that is that the wrong one? That's the wrong one. Sorry, guys. So I thought I had some more stories here. I do. Okay. So this was just them talking. They talked about the volume. They talked about how Deborah Chow kind of took over. There was the Obi-Wan movie that we all knew that was happening. She took over. The idea about Vader and how Vader was going to be doing more. And they talked about the little featurette that they had Reva talking about, being part of all this and looking at it. But you really start to see the first look of Vader here. We haven't seen Vader. I think we saw him in, I can't remember which one it was. Maybe Total Film, they showed a version of him. But like this stuff, like Vader and Reva together, like them shooting, and whether or not this is a scene or not, there's just Annie Leibowitz taking pictures of him. Nonetheless, it's fantastic. And you look at the Inquisitor saber that Reva has, it's pretty badass as well. So there's a lot of great stuff going down thus far in the article about Obi-Wan and the things that we're going to see, and with Hayden. And the thing that I liked a lot, this shot was, where the hell was it? I love this shot of just Hayden, rehearsing again and getting ready for the saber stuff. That was great. And just the idea, there was a lot that both Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen talked about inside of this article, and it was similar to an interview that we saw them about a week ago, where they talked about how the prequels themselves, when they came out, they were really fans, backlash, critics, all this stuff too, and they were bummed about it. And Ewan said as much, bummed about it. Hayden said as much. And we've mentioned it on the show, and it turned out this is exactly how the actors are feeling as well, is that the fans that grew up with them as kids are now adults and have a special place in their heart. So it's a reason why Hayden is welcome back so much, and Ewan is welcome back so much. He was always loved inside of Obi-Wan, but he's talking about the overall movies themselves, and he said after doing the first one and saw it was critically panned, and he's bummed because then he had to do 2 more of them, and I think he's being more political, as he should be, inside of interviews when he's talking about, well, we were just working against green screens and we couldn't do what we wanted to do. I'm sure he was miserable. But he doesn't seem miserable now. He seems like they're really diving deep into this character and the idea and the explanation of what's going to go on with him and Hayden. So a lot of nice tidbits of information there that we're seeing. But the other stuff that I thought was interesting was because now with the trailers coming out for Obi-Wan, we're it's what, 10 days away or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, 10 days away. We're close. So we have a lot of information there. It's the other stuff we didn't have information for. This that Jon Watts series. It's funny, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that there was that report going around that there was this Stranger Things High Republic show. It seems more so that that's what Jon Watts is doing, but it's not in that time period. This article says that it's in the post Return of the Jedi Mandalorian era, which is interesting. So you'll see a couple more people start to new characters and new ideas, which I think is cool. It's interesting that they're playing in that time period again. The only one that they're really playing outside of the time period of either the prequels or the prequels or I guess not new trilogy, but the original trilogy is the Acolyte, and we definitely got some stuff out of the Acolyte, I thought, which not a big thing, but they talked to the showrunner of the show, and she said that what was fascinating to her was this. First of all, it takes place 100 years beforehand, and what I really liked is we're going to learn. This is going to be the first show in the High Republic. We're going to, if you're reading the novels or the comics, you really understand it and know what it was like back then. But for the casual fans or the hardcore fans who just watch the TV shows and the movies, the idea of the Jedi inside of the robes, but they're clean because they don't really fight too much. And what was the infiltration with 100 years beforehand? What was the infiltration of because the Sith was already happening and the Rule of Two was already happening and they were kind of polluting, but they're starting to really infiltrate. So if it's 100 years beforehand, let's see, Palpatine is like in his 40s when Phantom Menace starts, so he's not born yet. But Plagueis should be around. And I know we keep talking about Plagueis. The question is, I know that George Lucas wanted him, if they were going to bring him in, to be the species of Mune. In the novel, in James Luceno's novel, that's exactly what he is. what they're as IG 11 says, some species age differently than others. So if it's Plagueis and they keep him with being immune, you would pretty much have to guarantee that he might be the one running around at that point, whether he's an apprentice or whatever he might be. So I'm curious if they're going to go down that route. Either way, I think that show sounds fascinating. It's about the infiltration of the Sith and how they corrupt the way that the Jedi are just walking around in gold robes saying, "Oh, we're good to go." I mean that show's tailor-made for me. I'll tell you that right now. So I'm excited for that one. And then they also started talking about Ahsoka. And lots going on with Ahsoka. And they had this quote, which I thought was pretty interesting too. I would like to see the quote. Late last year, Rosario Dawson seemed to accidentally confirm a rumor with an Instagram post. I looked in my email, and Star Wars was like, you might want to take that down. I'm like, man, I can't be trusted. So you can look at this two ways, because she mentioned inside of this article that they were talking about Hayden Christensen being in the show, and that hasn't officially been announced. Well, I think that we pretty much know that's going to happen. The question is how, within flashbacks, within Force Ghost, all of that. That's less of the one that I really think that she was maybe talking about. I think she was talking about Mina Mossad. She had confirmed that both him or congratulated, and it might have been the same post, him and Lars Mikkelsen had been confirmed. Lars, of course, playing Thrawn, and Mina Mossad playing Ezra, which, man, if that's confirmed, I'm excited for it. I think that's going to happen. That to me, I would most likely think is going to happen in Star Wars Celebration with like a behind-the-scenes footage stuff. I would love to hear some more, at least casting for Acolyte, and I think this is a perfect time for this article to come out right before Celebration. People are hyped on this article, and there's a lot of juicy things coming out. This is a big month for Star Wars overall, with Celebration, with Obi-Wan, with this announcement of stuff. The movies, I think that they're going to at least announce one or two of them. The Jon Watts series they'll probably announce inside of this. And then Andor. The Andor stuff to me was pretty intriguing as well, because inside of the Andor stuff, there was obviously the mention of Genevieve O'Reilly, who plays Mon Mothma, and a lot of the Diego Luna stuff, where Rosario Dawson is out there tweeting people and Instagramming and doing all that. He was trying to keep it really to the vest and hiding his phone from drivers and whatever he was doing, but he was talking to Tony Gilroy. I did think it was hilarious, though. I don't want to say hilarious. That's not the right word, but I do think it's interesting. Let's use that word. That there's no mention of Gareth Edwards with him when he's talking about it. It seems like him and Gilroy were on the same page, and really, I know Gareth Edwards did a lot. I'm not taking that away from Gareth Edwards. I happen to really like Gareth Edwards. I just think that from what the rumors say is that Gilroy really took over that movie, and I think it's the reason why he got this show. And I think he has a relationship with all the actors and the things that he did. So they're on the same page. They're talking about it. It's funny. I'm watching The Offer right now, and there's a scene where the Ellen Ruddy, who Miles Teller plays, is talking to Dan Fogler's Francis Ford Coppola, and they have this agreement that they got to have this partnership. They got to be eye to eye. And there's this conversation that Diego Luna has with Vanity Fair, and he says something along the same lines. It reminded me of it. But they're on the same page. They look. It's the idea where you see where Gilroy talks about how we know what happens with Andor. We know that he sacrifices himself. The question is, how did he get to that spot? He was very skeptical. He was very angry when we first met him. Like, how did he get there? What's he doing in this? You're going to see because Mon Mothma has a big role to play. Also, I hope we get a lot of the Empire inside of that. This is the Empire at their full power. I don't want to just see spy missions, but you don't see the Empire at all. That doesn't seem likely at all. But there's so much. There's so much in this article, and like I said, we're going to really dive deep. So if I really missed anything inside of this, forgive me. But we will be talking about it heavily on Sith Council tomorrow. That'll go on around anywhere between 4 to 6 p.m. PST. It just depends on when we can get it done. But I'm excited for this, for everything, the future in general. It seems great, man. They seem like they're really working on stuff. There was some stuff, like I said, I didn't agree with the nobody can play legacy characters. I think that's silly. I think you can do it in a way, and you can cast the right way, and I think that it's possible. However, I also think that it's a great thing that they're pursuing new stories. I really hope the Acolyte works for a lot of different reasons. One, because of the content, obviously, and the story that it's right up my alley. But because it's 100 years before The Phantom Menace, and nobody's going to know anybody except maybe Yoda. Yoda will pop in there. But other than that, they don't know anybody. So they don't have to rely on the Skywalker story and all that. And how does it fare? What I'm worried about is something like we just talked about with where she said, well, that didn't work, so it definitely doesn't work all the way around. If High Republic doesn't work and people don't watch it, what I don't want to happen, which might, people don't care about the High Republic stuff. Don't do another show unless it's in the era of the original trilogy and the prequels. That's it. It's like anything can be done right if the story is done well. You find a compelling story with the right actors and everything too. Again, Solo wasn't a bad movie, but it was just, there was just too many things that it just didn't. There was a lot. There was a lot inside of that movie that I watched it recently. We did a rewatch on the channel, and it's fine. The second half is way better than the first, but it's just there's a lot. There's a lot, and I do think that it could have been done well. It could have been done differently. I also think that if you had waited to put Han Solo in like in a TV show the way you did with Luke, it might have worked a lot better. Like Crimson Dawn maybe could have been a standalone movie and done that first. But either way, they got a plan now. That's a big thing, and that's what it seemed like it was in this. Very curious to what you guys think. Please go ahead and comment and let me know. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. If you're brand new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 50,000 by June 1st. I'm doing this stupid thing where I'm going to smash myself in the face with a lemon pie. Why? Because I had a someday, and I thought about something stupid, and I said, okay, I'm going to do that. But it's got to be 50,000 by July 1st. Or excuse me, June 1st. Get to that, I'll do it. Anyway, check us out on Sith Council tomorrow. That's the show. That's my video. I hope you enjoyed it. See you later.